Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins on your dresser, the same jar you've ignored for years, and pulling out a plain brown cent that looks like nothing special. The date reads 2009. The design shows Abraham Lincoln, and at first glance it feels like pocket change you'd spend without hesitation. But then you look closer. There's no tiny mint mark under the date. No D, no S, nothing at all. Just a blank space. And suddenly, what looked like a penny worth 1 cent might be something far more extraordinary. What if you were holding one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents, a coin that serious collectors have hunted for and that auction houses have quietly sold for staggering sums? The 2009 Lincoln cent already carried significance. That year marked the 200th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and the Mint issued a series of designs celebrating different chapters of his life. Collectors rushed to save rolls fresh from banks, excited about the change. Yet tucked among the millions were subtle variations, and one in particular has become the subject of whispered conversations at coin shows and the surprise star of safe deposit boxes opened years later. A coin with no mint mark where one should have been. A mistake so simple, yet so easy to miss, that most people tossed it into change. Jars without a second thought. Think about how many pennies slip through our hands every week. You find them on sidewalks, in couch cushions, mixed into forgotten piggy banks. How many of those could have been one of these mysterious, no-mint mark 2009 Lincoln cents? What if someone in your family kept a roll from that year, thinking they were just commemorative designs, and inside that roll lies a piece of modern treasure waiting to be discovered? The thought alone is enough to make collectors dig out old coin folders and magnifying glasses. The story of how these coins were first recognized often reads like a detective novel. A sharp-eyed hobbyist notices the missing mint mark on a coin pulled from circulation. Word spreads quietly, moving from one collector to another. Soon, the big grading services confirm the find, capsulating the coin in hard plastic, certifying that the error is genuine. And just like that, something that once jingled in change becomes a prized specimen, commanding prices that make even seasoned collectors raise an eyebrow. But here's the catch: only a handful have surfaced. For every rumor of a find, there are thousands of false alarms. Pennies checked and rechecked under bright light, only to reveal a faint letter after all. The scarcity fuels obsession. Because what if you're the one who gets lucky? What if you stumble across the next coin to shock the auction block? Coins like this are not about shiny gold or silver. They're about rarity, about the mistake that shouldn't exist. And collectors will pay dearly for a chance to own one. Picture yourself in an attic, opening a dusty box of your grandfather's belongings. Inside, you find old envelopes stuffed with wheat cents, nickels, and modern change. You flip through, half distracted, until one coin catches your attention. 2009. No mint mark. Could this be one of them? Your pulse quickens as you compare it to photos in reference books, as you imagine carrying it to a trusted dealer, sliding it across the counter, and watching their expression change. That moment of recognition when a professional realizes what you've brought them. could change the course of your collecting life. What's even more gripping is how easily these coins could have been lost forever. Most pennies are worn down, discarded, or left in circulation until they vanish into machines that sort and recycle. The survival rate for error coins like this is small. Every time one is discovered, it feels like pulling a relic out of quicksand rescued before it disappears forever. And that's why so few have ever reached major auctions, and why the ones that have appear like rare jewels, drawing headlines and intense bidding wars. So what kind of prices are we talking about? That's the question burning in every collector's mind. At first, these coins traded quietly, passed between knowledgeable hobbyists for amounts that would surprise anyone who thought of a penny as worthless. Then, as word spread and grading services confirmed their authenticity, the numbers climbed higher. Auction houses began listing them, and bidders competed fiercely, pushing the price into the thousands. The most pristine examples, certified at the highest grades, have crossed into the territory of 5 figures. Imagine that. A penny, just 1 cent stamped in 2009, selling for more than the cost of a new car. It's not a fantasy, it's documented, and it has happened. Now pause and think about the implications. If one of these coins could sit unnoticed in a simple jar on your dresser, what does that mean for all the change around you right now? How many times have you spent pennies without a glance? How many people have had this treasure in their hand and let it slip away, unaware of what they were holding? That fear of regret, the thought that you might have already let a fortune pass through your fingers, it's exactly why collectors double-check every coin they come across. There's also a deeper historical layer. The Lincoln cent is the longest-running coin design in American history. First struck in 1909, by the time 2009 arrived, the coin had already seen generations of Americans pass it along, each cent a little time capsule of its own. The bicentennial year carried weight, and collectors knew it. But no one expected an error from that commemorative run to become one of the most sought-after modern rarities. It's almost poetic, the coin honoring Lincoln's legacy itself becoming a legend. But let's not forget the suspense of discovery. What if tonight, someone in a small town digs through a coffee can full of loose change and finds one? What if tomorrow, a child opening a birthday card with coins taped inside spots the missing mint mark? What if the next auction house already has another example waiting in their vault, scheduled for the kind of sale that will make headlines across the collecting world? Every what if keeps the hunt alive. And every collector knows the thrill of possibility is half the fun. And then there's the human side of it. Picture the moment someone brings their coin to a trusted grading service. They hand it over, wait anxiously, and when the coin comes back sealed in a slab with the confirmation, genuine, authentic, no mint marks, suddenly their life feels different. That tiny copper coin, once worth a cent, is now a documented rarity. Some people choose to hold on to theirs, hoping the value rises even more with time. Others consign them to auction, where bidders fight for the privilege of ownership. Either way, the discovery changes everything. Of course, with great rarity comes skepticism. For every real example, there are countless coins misidentified by hopeful searchers. That's why expert verification is key. But that also means most people overlook the possibility entirely. They assume every 2009 penny is ordinary, not realizing that one missing detail could transform it into something extraordinary. Scarcity thrives on this blindness, because while millions of 2009 cents exist, only a sliver have this error. And among those, only the finest survive without scratches, spots, or circulation wear. Condition, rarity, history when all three combine. You get lightning in a bottle. Now imagine this at a major auction house. Under bright lights, a no-mint mark 2009 Lincoln cent crosses the block. The room is tense, paddles raised. The bidding starts modestly, then climbs faster, fueled by collectors who understand exactly what's at stake. The numbers leap higher, past the point most people would ever believe possible for a penny. And then, at the final hammer, the price lands in the realm of 5 figures, tens of thousands for a coin most would have spent without hesitation. The crowd erupts, and somewhere the original finder smiles, knowing their sharp eye changed everything. That's the drama that surrounds this coin. The blend of chance and history, the thrill of the chase, the emotional tug of what if. It's why collectors keep searching, why they check every cent, why the hobby never loses its magic. Because you never know which coin might rewrite the rules of your collection or even your finances. So as you go about your day, think twice before dismissing the pennies in your pocket. Look closely, especially at those from 2009. The details matter. That tiny space where a mint mark should be could be the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a treasure that makes headlines. Because the truth is, the next great discovery isn't always locked away in a museum or buried underground. Sometimes it's already sitting in your hand. And realizing that the coin in your hand could change the way you see loose change forever? Most people dismiss the humble Lincoln penny without a second thought. But hidden among the billions of coins struck in 2006 is one that collectors whisper about. One that can command staggering attention in the right circles. It carries a small D mint mark, stamped in Denver, and while nearly all are ordinary, a tiny fraction are anything but. What if you already own one, tucked away in a jar, or forgotten in a drawer? Think about how many times you've seen pennies scattered on a nightstand, rattling at the bottom of a car cuff holder, or spilling from a dusty coffee tin in the garage. Most are worth just face value, destined to circulate unnoticed. But once in a while, one coin, indistinguishable at first glance, holds secrets that only the trained eye can see. That's the thrill of this particular penny, the 2006 Lincoln cent with a D mint mark. A coin that many have touched, yet very few have recognized for what it truly is. The Lincoln cent has been around since 1909, honoring the nation's 16th president, and it has become the longest-running design in American coinage history. By 2006, you'd think it would be just another year, just another mint run, nothing extraordinary. But numismatics has a way of making the ordinary extraordinary. Minor die variations, small striking errors, and even subtle flaws in the minting process can turn a penny into a prize. And in Denver that year, conditions aligned to create coins that would one day become treasures. Now picture this, an old shoebox left behind by a grandfather, filled with coins he never got around to sorting. Dusty, forgotten, tucked in a corner of the attic. The family sees it as sentimental, not realizing that buried among the wheat cents and silver nickels might be a 2006 D. Lincoln penny with the kind of error that professional graders dream of seeing. Imagine the heartbeat racing as the coin is pulled from its hiding place, tilted under the light. And suddenly, something looks off, a doubling, a misalignment, a flaw so rare it could transform that cent into a centerpiece. What if that story happened to you? Collectors live for these moments. And the truth is, coins like this are often discovered by accident. A young hobbyist going through pocket change. A retiree cataloging inherited albums. Someone cashing in an old jar only to notice something unusual at the last moment. These scenarios happen every year, and each time another story of fortune emerges. Could the next discovery be tied to a penny you already own? When the Denver Mint struck billions of cents in 2006, most were perfect for circulation. But machines aren't flawless, and sometimes dies clash, letters double, or surfaces strike imperfectly. These are the moments where scarcity is born. Only a handful slip through undetected. Only a fraction of collectors notice them, and that is why the value soars. The rarity doesn't just lie in the year or the mint mark, but in the errors themselves, the unintentional quirks that make a coin unique. How many of those quirks went unnoticed, still waiting to be spotted? Auction houses have seen such coins cross the block, shocking audiences who never believed a modern penny could demand thousands of dollars. Professional grading services confirm their authenticity, sealing them in protective holders like tiny treasures preserved for history. Trusted dealers whisper about them, knowing how few are out there, how many pass unknowingly from hand to hand. And every time one surfaces, it reignites the hunt. Because if one was found in circulation, surely another could still be hiding in plain sight. The fear of regret is powerful. Imagine tossing a penny into a tip jar, never realizing it could have changed your collection forever. Imagine rolling up coins for the bank and sealing away the very one that could have made your heart stop. That is why collectors obsess, why they comb through each cent with magnifiers, refusing to let chance slip away. Are you willing to risk overlooking one of the rarest? Some of the most spectacular 2006 D cents have sold for prices that make seasoned collectors pause. Thousands of dollars exchanged for what looks, at first, like an ordinary penny. And at the very top, the most exceptional examples. Coins with pristine surfaces and dramatic errors have shattered expectations. Stories circulate of values climbing to nearly $20,000 in public auctions, a figure that transforms a single cent into a piece of numismatic legend. Who would have thought that a coin so recent, one minted in the 21st century, could rival rarities from 100 years ago? This is the paradox that keeps collectors awake at night. Common coins, hiding uncommon secrets. Modern dates, masking ancient levels of scarcity. You may think that anything minted so recently can't be worth much, but history has proven otherwise time and time again. The rarity is not in the year alone, but in the survival, the condition, and the anomalies that turn one coin into a treasure. And the 2006 D Lincoln cent has already written its name into that story. So where should you look? Anywhere coins have gathered and been forgotten. Old jars filled with change from decades past. Dressers where loose pennies piled up year after year. Boxes of belongings passed down through generations. Even your daily pocket change is still a battlefield of discovery. The truth is, most collectors overlook this coin entirely, assuming its modern age makes it worthless. But those who look closer, those who dare to check each detail, are the ones who make the discoveries others only dream about. Could you be one of them? Every collector hopes for that rush, the moment when an ordinary object transforms into something extraordinary before their eyes. The 2006 D Lincoln cent carries that promise. It is a coin with a story hidden beneath its copper-plated surface. A story of chance, error, scarcity, and the pursuit of treasure in the most unexpected places. Some have already found theirs. Most are still out there waiting, and that brings us back to you. Somewhere in your house, in a drawer, in a jar, even in your wallet right now, the next discovery could be waiting. The coin you never thought twice about might hold the kind of secret that sets collectors on fire with excitement. But what if that humble coin, the one you might flick onto a counter without a second thought, could actually be hiding a secret worth far more than a single cent? This is the thrill that keeps collectors awake at night. The nagging thought that somewhere in your drawer, in your glove box, or in that coffee jar filled with pennies, you might already be holding a piece of numismatic history. And among the coins that spark this kind of obsession, few are as mysterious and captivating as the 2007 Lincoln penny bearing the tiny D Mint mark dot at first glance. It doesn't seem special. It carries the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln, his stoic profile etched into the copper plating. The date, 2007, doesn't immediately scream rarity. The Denver Mint produced millions upon millions of these coins, and they flowed into circulation just like every other penny. So why would collectors chase after it? Why would major auction houses even bother to place one on a pedestal under bright lights? The answer lies in the rare anomalies, the unexpected errors, and the handful of surviving examples that transformed from pocket change into prized treasures. Picture a dusty attic on a summer afternoon. A box is pulled from a corner, heavy and forgotten, its cardboard edges sagging with age. Inside is an old coin album inherited from a grandfather who never talked much about his hobbies. Flipping through the pages, the coins gleam in their little holders, each dated and preserved. Then, nestled quietly among the rows, sits a 2007 penny with a D mark under the date. It looks unassuming, but under magnification, the details tell another story. A faint doubling on the lettering. A small misalignment at the rim, imperfections that most eyes would miss, but that for collectors signal a potential discovery worth thousands. Could this be one of the few survivors that auctioneers whisper about? What if the treasure isn't in an attic, but in your car? Imagine pouring out the change from a console, coins clattering across your palm, when suddenly you notice a 2007 penny looking strangely sharp compared to the rest. You turn it over, see the reverse design of the Lincoln Memorial, and it seems normal. Until you look closer. The D mint mark sits just slightly off-center. Could that be a striking error? Could it be one of the elusive varieties that professional grading services certify and lock away in protective cases, forever marking them as rarities? The allure of this coin lies not in its common form, but in the hidden exceptions. Most of the millions minted are worth only their face value, but a select few, with errors or unusually high grades, have shattered expectations. Collectors have been known to bid aggressively, chasing examples graded at the very highest levels of perfection. Coins that have never been touched by human hands. Preserved straight from mint sets or rolls, glowing with their original luster. In the sterile light of an auction room, these flawless survivors become trophies. And the prices soar far beyond what anyone would imagine for a penny made less than 2 decades ago. What makes this so fascinating is the element of chance. You could walk past a coin on the sidewalk, step over it without thinking, and in that instant lose out on a fortune. What if the coin sitting in your child's piggy bank right now is one of the very few that collectors have been hunting? What if it's sitting in a mason jar at your grandmother's house, tossed in years ago and forgotten, waiting for someone to recognize it? The fear of missing out, of passing by history without ever knowing it, is what drives people to dig through change with renewed purpose. The stories circulate quietly in collector circles. A man at a yard sale paying for an item with pocket change, only for the buyer to notice the coin days later and realize its potential. A woman sorting through bags of bang-crapped rolls, her fingers turning black from the endless coins. When suddenly she pulls one out that shines differently, her heart racing as she studies it under a lamp. A teenager receiving a handful of change after buying a soda, not knowing that the penny he slips into his pocket might, one day, be worth more than the car he drove to the store. Every collector knows. The thrill of discovery is as valuable as the coin itself. But when rarity and condition collide, the value becomes undeniable. Professional grading services confirm authenticity, encapsulating these pennies in clear holders that transform them from everyday money into relics. Auction houses announce their arrival with excitement, and bids climb as collectors, dealers, and investors fight for ownership. And when the gavel finally falls, the realized prices can leave jaws on the floor. Here's where the story takes its most dramatic turn. While countless 2007 D pennies circulate unnoticed, a handful of extraordinary examples have commanded staggering sums. Coins graded at the very top levels have sold in major auctions for amounts that make people rethink every penny they've ever spent. We're not talking about a few dollars, or even a few hundred. The finest survivors, gleaming with untouched luster, have reached into the thousands. and the highest documented sales, achieved under the bright lights of the bidding floor, have stunned even seasoned collectors. A single cent pushed to perfection, climbing well above $10,000 at auction. Think about that for a moment. A coin you could have tossed into a tip jar without thinking. A coin you might still have buried in a coffee tin or stashed in a drawer. A coin that, if pristine, could buy not just groceries, but an entire luxury vacation, or even a car. How many of these sit unrecognized right now, rattling in cash registers or tucked away in bank rolls? How many people unknowingly spend them every day, never realizing what slipped through their hands? This is why the 2007 D penny has captured the imagination of collectors. It represents possibility, chance, and the constant reminder that treasure doesn't always glitter with gold or shine with diamonds. Sometimes it's copper-plated zinc, scratched and dull, hiding in plain sight. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's a flawless survivor that lights up a room when revealed. So the next time you receive change, don't just shove the coins into your pocket and forget about them. Look closely. Study the details. Pay attention to that tiny mint mark beneath the date, because the line between ordinary and extraordinary is razor thin, and only those who bother to look will ever cross it. Some coins hide their value in history, others in artistry, but the 2007 D penny hides it in rarity, error, and condition. And that mystery keeps every collector searching, every treasure hunter dreaming, every casual spender wondering. Because if a single cent can become a 5-figure prize, then anything is possible, and perhaps right now. As you think about the change sitting just a few feet away from you, your mind is racing with the possibilities. Could it be? What if the next record-breaking penny isn't locked away in a vault, but sitting quietly in your home, waiting for discovery? The world of coin collecting thrives on that question, on that heartbeat of curiosity. And with every pocket searched, every roll unwrapped, every jar poured out onto a table, someone gets closer to finding the next treasure. Maybe it will be you. Copper-colored, the kind of coin most of us ignore at the bottom of a pocket or slip into a jar by the door. Now imagine that very same penny is not just worth 1 cent, not just worth a few dollars, but could be the key to unlocking a hidden fortune. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? But here's the twist. In 2008, a simple Lincoln penny without a mint mark slipped quietly into circulation. And for the few who discovered its true significance, that tiny coin transformed into a treasure of astonishing value. The question is, could you be holding one right now without even realizing it? Think of the places pennies go to hide. Old coffee cans buried in a garage. Glass jars on a kitchen shelf, filled year after year until no one bothers to count them anymore. An attic where a shoebox of coins sits forgotten, collecting dust alongside family photos. These are the silent vaults of everyday life, the places where history hides in plain sight. And somewhere in one of those forgotten stashes, a 2008 Lincoln penny without a mint mark could be waiting for someone who knows what to look for. But what makes this coin so mysterious? After all, pennies are produced by the billions. They pass through our hands daily, used and discarded with little thought. Yet every once in a while, the minting process leaves behind anomalies, mistakes, or intentional variations that slip unnoticed into circulation. The 2008 No Mint Mark penny is one of those. To most eyes, it looks exactly the same as every other cent. But to the sharp-eyed collector, it carries a subtle but powerful distinction: the absence of a mint mark. The tiny letter that usually tells you where a coin was struck. That missing letter is the difference between pocket change and something extraordinary. Now pause and think about that. How many times have you glanced at a penny without even flipping it over? What if, buried in the folds of your wallet or sliding between your car seats, the coin you dismissed as worthless is the one people at major auction houses have been clamoring to own? Stories from collectors often sound like urban legends. A man cleaning out his grandfather's safe finds an envelope of coins tucked behind old documents. A woman sorting through her late father's desk drawer discovers a small coin album that hadn't been touched in decades. They thought they were handling sentimental trinkets, only to realize they were holding one of the rarest modern pennies ever made. Can you imagine that rush of realization? The shock, the disbelief, quickening of your heartbeat as you understand that a 1-cent coin could fund a new car, a home renovation, or even change your financial future. Why does rarity spark such obsession? Because it's not just about metal. It's about stories, human error, and chance. Each coin is a frozen moment in history, stamped with intention, but sometimes carrying the mark of imperfection. The 2008 No Mint Mark penny embodies that perfectly. Only a handful are known to exist, slipping out under the radar, camouflaged among billions of others. Most collectors overlook them, brushing past without a second thought. But for those who know where to look, the reward can be life-changing. And here's where the suspense deepens. Coins like these don't announce themselves. They don't gleam in gold or sparkle with diamonds. They're ordinary in every visible way except for the smallest missing detail. Imagine finding one in your change after buying a cup of coffee. Would you recognize it? Would you have the patience to look closer before tossing it aside? Professional grading services, the kind trusted by the most serious collectors, have confirmed the authenticity of these rare pieces. Auction houses, places where history's greatest treasures often pass hands, have documented the sales. Some examples have reached values in the tens of thousands, while the most pristine, top-graded specimens have soared dramatically higher. The highest documented sale. Over $100,000 for a coin most people would never glance at twice. Now think about that number for a moment. A single penny that could change the course of someone's life, hiding quietly in circulation, waiting for discovery. How many such coins might still be out there? No one knows for sure, but the reality is undeniable. Every time you hold a penny dated 2008, you're holding a chance, however slim, to uncover a modern-day treasure. Consider the thrill of the hunt. Coin collectors call it the chase, that intoxicating pursuit of the overlooked gem. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table one evening, pouring out a jar of pennies you've been meaning to roll up for the bank. Hundreds spill across the surface, clinking and sliding, a cascade of copper light. Your eyes glaze at the repetition of dates. And then suddenly, there it is. 2008. But when you look closer, something feels different. No mint mark. Your pulse quickens. Could it be? You grab a magnifying glass, your hands trembling, trying to steady your breath. If it's real, you've just struck gold in copper clothing. But the cruel truth is that most people never look. They spend their lives handing over coins without a second thought, dismissing pennies as worthless. Meanwhile, a select few are changing their fortunes with the same pieces of change that others treat as nothing more than metal scraps. How many have been unknowingly spent back into circulation? How many sit unrecognized in a child's piggy bank or in a dusty jar under someone's sink? The 2008 no mint mark penny is a reminder that value doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And only those who listen, who pay attention, who dare to search, get rewarded. That's the beauty of numismatics, the science, the passion, the art of finding history in the smallest of places. So what if tonight, after this video ends, you go and check? What if you spill out those jars, flip open that old coin album, or dig through the Q folder in your car? What if, by some twist of fate, the coin that could set you apart from millions of others is already sitting under your roof? Wouldn't you want to know before it slips through your fingers? Picture the auction floor. A rare coin is unveiled, lights glinting off its simple copper surface. The crowd leans forward. Bidders whisper, paddles twitching in their hands. The room fills with anticipation. Numbers climb faster and higher than anyone expected. And then, with a sharp crack of the gavel, the hammer falls. 1 cent has just become a 6-figure fortune. That's not a fantasy, that's a documented reality. And it all starts with an ordinary coin most people overlook. The lesson is simple but powerful. The rarest treasures are often hiding in plain sight. A penny with no mint mark, minted in 2008, is not just a coin. It's a story, a piece of history, a lottery ticket disguised as spare change. The only question left is, will you take the time to look? Think about how many times you've seen a penny sitting on the floor of your car or resting at the bottom of a dusty jar in the kitchen. Most of us don't even bother to bend down and pick one up. But every so often, among billions of coins struck, a few slip through with a story carved into them, stories of mistakes, misprints, or flawless beauty that turned them into miniature treasures. And the 2014 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark from Denver has become one of those stories that whispers to collectors like a secret waiting to be uncovered. Now picture this. Someone cleaning out an old safe inherited from a grandparent stumbles upon a roll of untouched pennies, still wrapped in the crisp paper of a local bank. To the untrained eye, they're just shiny coins that never entered circulation. But under the harsh lights of professional grading, one flawless 2014 D Lincoln penny gleams so perfectly that experts agree it deserves the highest grade. That single stroke of fortune can transform a penny into a coin coveted by collectors. one that sparks bidding wars in rooms where fortunes are exchanged with the strike of a gavel. What if, right now, in your own home, in a jar that hasn't been touched in years, lies a coin from that very year? What if yours carries the kind of sharp detail, shimmering luster, or even the rare varieties that most people dismiss without a glance? Would you recognize it, or would you let it slip through your fingers back into circulation, never knowing what you had? The Lincoln cent itself carries a century-long legacy. First minted in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first American coin to feature a real person rather than a symbolic figure. Over the decades, its design has shifted subtly, but the humble penny has become the most familiar face of American change. By 2010, the reverse design had settled into the Union Shield, representing unity after the turmoil of the Civil War. And so, when 2014 pennies rolled off the Denver presses, they seemed like just another issue, nothing unusual. Yet buried in those billions were coins that would rewrite expectations. Here's where the suspense builds. Imagine sitting in an auction room. The lights are dim, the audience hushed. A coin barely larger than your thumbnail is held up for inspection. The auctioneer begins with a modest opening bid, but the numbers climb fast. Collectors lock eyes, dealers raise their paddles, and suddenly the room is electric. That single penny, dated 2014 with a Denver Mint mark, in nearly flawless condition, has bidders pushing the price far beyond what anyone thought possible. By the time the gavel slams down, what began as a coin worth a single cent is now worth thousands. How many people passed on similar coins without ever knowing? Consider this: most 2014 pennies are worth just their face value. They jingle in pockets, pile up in jars, and disappear into vending machines. But among them exist rare varieties, including those struck with unusual doubling or tiny die errors, the kinds of accidents that slip past the presses unnoticed. Collectors live for these moments of imperfection because imperfection often equals rarity, and rarity, when combined with condition, equals value. So when someone discovers a 2014 D penny with dramatic doubling in the lettering, or a pristine mint state coin that seems untouched by human hands, the excitement surges. What if, while rolling pennies with your children, you stumble across one that looks just a little different? Maybe the shine is brighter, the strike sharper, the details bolder. Would you recognize the treasure in your hand, or would you slide it into the roll without a second thought? Professional grading services exist for exactly this reason. They take an ordinary-looking coin and measure its every detail, assigning a grade that can skyrocket its desirability. A coin that has never seen circulation. One that still carries the brilliance of the day it was struck, can command a premium that shocks newcomers to the hobby. Some of the finest examples of the 2014 D penny have crossed the auction block at prices ranging from hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on their rarity and condition. And in one breathtaking moment, a near-perfect example shattered expectations, reaching values well beyond what most people would ever imagine for a coin so recent and so common. Think of the irony. A coin made in the billions, so plentiful that people leave them in change trays at gas stations, can transform into a hidden fortune simply because of its condition or a subtle flaw. Most collectors walk right past modern pennies, dismissing them as unworthy of attention. Yet those who know better, those who take the time to examine each coin carefully, sometimes walk away with stories that sound almost unbelievable. Now imagine this scenario. A teenager inherits a small box of coins from a relative. Inside are wheat pennies, buffalo nickels, and tucked between them modern shield pennies. She almost discards the newer ones, thinking they can't possibly be worth anything. But one glimmers differently under the light. She sets it aside, has it graded, and learns it's among the finest 2014 D pennies ever discovered. A simple inheritance suddenly becomes a gateway to history, value, and an entirely new world of collecting. The suspense here is unavoidable. How many of us already possess something like this without realizing it? How many drawers, jars, and piggy banks hide coins that might bring life-changing surprises? And the real sting comes from knowing that most people will never look closely enough to find out. They'll spend the coin, lose the opportunity, and never know what they once held in their palm. So what should you do if you stumble upon a 2014 D penny that seems unusual, dazzling, or flawless? The answer is simple. Never assume. Inspect it. Compare the details. Seek the opinion of a trusted dealer or submit it to grading services. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a coin worth thousands can be so fine, so delicate, that only trained eyes can separate treasure from pocket change. One of the most remarkable stories came from a collector who purchased a bulk lot of coins, simply to search for hidden gems. Within those rolls, ordinary to anyone else, he found a pristine 2014 D Lincoln penny that stood out like a beacon. When it finally hit the auction block, it soared past expectations, drawing gasps from even seasoned bidders. The lesson was clear. Even in the most mundane corners of our change, extraordinary finds are possible. And here's the twist. The highest documented sales for these coins in immaculate condition have reached into the upper thousands. A single penny, struck in Denver just a decade ago, brought a hammer price that could pay for a used car, a college semester, or a long-awaited vacation. And it leaves you with the haunting thought, how many such coins did you once hold without even noticing? Coins are not just currency. They are storytellers. The 2014 D penny carries the image of Lincoln, a reminder of resilience and leadership. The shield on its reverse is a symbol of unity. But for collectors, it's also a symbol of opportunity. An opportunity easily missed unless you choose to look closer. So the next time you hear that faint clink of pennies spilling from a jar, ask yourself, what if one of them isn't just another coin? What if one of them is the key to a story that ends not in the checkout line, but in an auction room where collectors fight for the chance to own it? What if the next life-changing discovery is already in your pocket, right now, waiting for you to notice? The next $1 million penny could already be sitting in your pocket. Until next time, keep searching and keep collecting.